Welcome to the best of first-person episodes from Phantoms and Monsters. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads.
Arc Being Encounters. I have never tried to contact someone before about this, but here it goes. It's not a traditional alien story, but I am interested in seeing if anyone else has seen what I did. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I lived on Oahu in Hawaii, in the Salt Lake City area, which is located next to the base on that island. We lived in a very populated area in a 12-level apartment building. It was a 2-bedroom. My parents' room was on the other side of the apartment. One night I had a bad dream and got up in the middle of the night to sleep in my parents' bed. Only my dad was there. I don't remember where my mother was. At some point in the earlier morning hours I had to go to the bathroom. I wasn't scared, I was just sleepy. The bathroom was adjoined to the bedroom. As I walked out of the bathroom toward the bed, something in the corner of my eye caught my attention, and I looked up and saw a figure in a dark cloak walking past the doorway. It saw me at the same time. We both were startled and just stared at each other for a moment. I was scared out of my mind. I couldn't move or scream. One thing that was impressed on me was how little it was. It was my height. It was wearing a dark cloak that covered its head and was clasped at the neck. Inside the cloak was pitch black, so much that it seemed unnatural, and 2 large oval slanted, typical, red glowing eyes was all I could see. We stared at each other for a moment, then it jumped out of view. I had no idea what I saw, nor what to do. I was completely freaked out, and my dad was lying there asleep. So I did what most children do when they are scared. I laid down on the bed and pulled the covers over my head. It seemed like I might be imagining it as it happened, but I felt someone pushing down on the bed in a circle around me, and then last pushing on my pillow. I remembered everything very clearly, but didn't tell anyone for a very long time. It never crossed my mind that it was an alien until much later. I thought it was some kind of demon. There are a lot of stories about evil little people in Hawaii, and I figured that was what I saw. But I met a lady who heard my story and told me about the Greys, and the fact that I surprised and shocked it is what I can't get over. She said that it was probably expecting me to still be in my bed, and that it was there for my father.
Was there really a close encounter? This all happened last week on Thursday and Friday, the first week in June 2013, in the evening, the 6th and 7th. Around 11 to 12 o'clock at night, both nights, in Hebbronville, Texas. Thursday evening I went to a friend's house to do a couple loads of laundry. She only lives a few houses down, so I waited till the kids were asleep to go. My oldest was still awake, and I asked him to keep watch as the man of the house. I had to do the same as a kid with my siblings quite often. I figure he's 10, so he's old enough. Husband was at work doing the night shift. I left around 10:45 p.m. As I was leaving I felt scared to leave them. I felt something wasn't right, but thought I wasn't going to be far and would come back to check on them. So I put the clothes in the washer and went back home immediately. My oldest son was in the living room playing with our cat. Everything seemed fine and I figured I was being silly. So I went back. I stayed till around midnight. I got home, everything seemed fine. My son was asleep on the couch. I went to bed and that was that. The next day my son tells me he saw something the night before while I was out. He said he was playing with the cat when he noticed something peeking into our living room window. He said it was an alien. Tall, skinny with dark gray-green skin. Funny shaped heads. When it left our window he said he crawled over to the window and peeked out. He said the beings were walking around peeking into people's windows. One stood watch while the other did this. My son said he was scared, but didn't give any more details. So that evening I stayed up all night to keep watch. I would go outside and check the area. I checked on the kids all night. I was exhausted by 4:30 a.m. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. The next day, which was Saturday, I came over to my friend's house again. The kids and hubby went out of town. So I bring up the story my son told me, and my friend tells me she had an encounter the night before. I get all excited. She tells me it was between 11 and 12 at night. She was sleeping on her couch in the living room. It's a small 2-bedroom house. From the couch you can see the back door. She was having trouble getting to sleep. During this time she says she heard the handle to the back door turn like someone was trying to get in. They turned the knob and she could hear them push the door. Then she noticed the lock moving. It was opening. At this time she got scared and remembers blacking out right when she was feeling panic. Later she remembers 3 beings in the house. She described them exactly as my son did. When I told her my son's story I didn't really give details about their appearance, but she was able to describe the same thing. This for me confirmed my son wasn't lying. My friend and son had no contact at all during their experiences. She described them as slimy looking with dark green skin like an avocado. They were tall and thin. She said she just laid on the couch in a groggy state as they walked around her house. Those were bits and pieces she remembered the next day. Sunday I was talking to my son about what he saw, and I told him my friend's story. He made a face and said he made the whole thing up. Now I would believe that if my friend hadn't told me her story. The fact that they both described the same thing tells me it truly happened. I am confused now, but no, my friend wouldn't lie. She isn't into aliens and UFOs or anything like that. So she has no need to make anything up. I find both stories fascinating. I hope you can make sense of it. M.
Aliens in our house. It was between 4 a.m. and 4:10 a.m. on September 23, 2017 when I woke up and went to the restroom. I frequent the restroom many times each night because of a medical problem that causes me to be a very light sleeper. I live with my 2 disabled parents, and since noises easily wake and disturb them, I have become very adept to visiting the restroom in the middle of the night while being as very quiet as possible. The restroom is located down a 30-foot hallway, and the hallway goes straight from my bedroom door directly to the restroom door. On one side of the hallway there are 2 other bedrooms, and on the other side of the hallway is the living room and the kitchen. The living room has a doorway accessing the kitchen as well as a doorway accessing the hallway right outside my bedroom door. All the lights in the house were turned off, except for a small nightlight in the kitchen which remains on all night for our cat to eat with. I did not notice anything different when I was walking to the restroom except one thing. I thought I had felt a slight electrical type charge in the atmosphere that made the house feel a little different. It did not feel like our house usually feels. I was in the restroom for maybe 3 or 4 minutes before I was ready to go back to my bedroom. I turned off the restroom light, and as I was getting ready to turn the doorknob to exit the restroom when I heard sounds that I misidentified. At first I thought I was hearing my cat's claws clicking on the kitchen floor as he was walking across it, which is a usual sound in the middle of the night, because he eats his meals every night between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. I quietly turned the doorknob and exited the restroom. I was then standing in the hallway closing the restroom door behind me very quietly like I always do. The sound I misidentified seemed to be getting closer, but I didn't think anything about it. I took 1 step forward toward my bedroom and I looked to my right. I thought I was going to be looking at my cat in the kitchen. I saw an alien about 6 feet away turning to look at me from the kitchen. I froze in mid-stride and I looked at it for about 5 seconds while it was staring back at me. It was a short gray alien between 3 and 4 feet tall, with a large head that had big black slanted eyes, no ears, a stubby nose and a small mouth. Its arms were long in proportion to its body. It was being backlit by the nightlight and appeared to be a off-white grayish color. While I was looking at the alien, it began making soft clicking noises with its small mouth. I was standing there trying to figure out what to do. I began feeling more electricity in the air, and I was trying to figure out if what I was looking at was real. A feeling of ease came over me, and inside my head I heard a voice say to me that there was no danger, this might not be real. Being confused and scared, I wanted to believe the voice in my head because I wanted to get away. I raised my right hand to see what would happen, and the alien raised its right hand back at me. I started walking down the hallway toward my bedroom, and I couldn't stop thinking about going back to sleep. I got halfway down the hallway to my bedroom door, and I remember thinking, what if there's more than one of those in the house? I stopped in front of my bedroom door so I could open it. As I was reaching out to grab the knob on the door, I looked into the living room. About 4 feet away from me, standing in the doorway to the kitchen, was a tall alien that was facing towards me and was looking directly at me. It was basically like the short gray alien, except its torso was much longer, making it about 6 to 6.5 feet tall. I heard a calm and soft voice in my head saying, "It's okay, just go back to sleep now." I raised my right hand and moved it like I was waving. The alien raised its right hand and waved back just like the short alien had done. By this time I was feeling a strong buzzing sensation all over my body. I remember hearing some more soft clicking sounds coming from the tall alien. I was overcome with an impulse I couldn't resist that made me reach out and open my bedroom door. I walked into my bedroom and closed the door behind me. I got into bed and fell asleep as though nothing had ever happened.
Thanksgiving close encounter. I was awoke at 4 a.m. to find myself unable to move in my bed. There was a curved screen floating above my head. The screen appeared to have no mass as there was no edges of the screen. The screen was translucent and I could see through it. Small images would blink on the screen every half a second. Each time the image appeared, it would be the same image displayed on the screen, 100 images at the same time. I didn't recognize any of the symbols as being known to me. I then peered through the screen and saw 2 dark figures. They were standing in opposite corners of my room at the foot of my bed. The figures were no more than 4 foot tall and were covered in a shroud of shifting darkness shadow. I felt a sense of fear come over me. It was dire fear. I remember looking over at my dog who was sleeping on my bed with me and feeling upset that the dog was still sleeping and not barking at the intruders or try to help me. I then yelled at the 2 intruders and told them, "Hell no. I'm not allowing it," and I told them they had to leave immediately. I couldn't make out any facial features, but could see one of the intruders turn its head to the other one, as if it was in shock of the fact that I had ordered them to leave. The blackness shroud around them appeared to move rapidly or shimmer, as much as black fog can shimmer, and then they were gone. Immediately I had control of my body and could move again. I jumped up and turned the lights on and searched the room for the entities. I didn't find anything. I was visibly shaken by the experience, and it took me a few minutes to calm down and stop my body from shaking. I looked at the clock when I jumped out of bed, and it said 4:30 a.m. I remember being upset because I had to get up at 8 a.m. to get the turkey ready to go in the oven for Thanksgiving. Healed by alien visitor. I went to sleep Friday night with a bad migraine. I woke up from a dream that night, early Saturday morning, and felt like there was something in my room. My daughter was sleeping in my bed with me, and I hid us both under the blanket. She stayed asleep the whole night, including during this visitation. I was under the blanket when I suddenly felt a finger pressed down on my forehead between my eyes. It wasn't a small finger, it was as if my dad, a large man, was pressing his finger between my eyes. I started to panic and reluctantly came out of the blanket to grab my cell phone beside my bed and call my mom. When there's something scary in your room at night and you're half asleep, what's your first reaction? Shout, "Mom." When I peeked out of my blanket, I saw something in front of me. I could tell that there was something in front of me, but it looked like a mirage. I could see through it, but I could tell there was something there. I started panicking even more. I told myself that I was seeing things and reached my hand out to prove that there was nothing there. I was wrong, and I grabbed onto what felt like a thin arm. That really freaked me out, so I started frantically grabbing for my phone, but it was dead and wouldn't turn back on. It was on the charger, so this made no sense at all. Suddenly I was back into a dream state, and a character from a TV show that I enjoy was standing in front of me trying to calm me down, but I felt like it was a being just appearing as something I am comfortable with. Then I was back asleep and having a dream that my daughter and I were on a beach, and I looked down into a tide pool on the beach and saw some red and blue tiger's eye stones, so I picked them up and put them in my pocket. When I woke up again, I checked my phone and it was turned on, and the time was 4 a.m.
My migraine was completely gone. The next day, I felt a bit off. Maybe a little traumatized, but the truth is that it was not scary. I didn't feel threatened or hurt, it just frightened me to wake up from a dream to that happening. I'm not sure how to explain it, but as soon as the finger touched my forehead, I saw in my mind's eye that it was a long gray finger. So, I believe it was a gray that visited me.
This is Lon Strickler. If you like this program, it would help us if you would give it a thumbs up. Then subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notification when we upload new first-person encounters. We have many more to come very soon. And by the way, if you have a suggestion or an experience of your own, please leave a comment.